are we? We are the Philippine Retailers Association, the pulse and voice of Philippine retail, recognized as a national organization of retailers and suppliers in the country. The PRA membership represents nearly 80% of the retail industry, which counts all major players like SM, Robinsons, Ayala Malls, Rustan's, Araneta Center, Bench, Mercury Drug, Pen Shop, Wilcon Depot, and more. So why join PRA? It is our goal to get your business in the right track, and to make this possible, the PRA offers exclusive privileges that will surely add value to your membership. PRA members in good standing can enjoy exclusive discounts for their music licensing under PhilSCAP, which is required by the law in compliance with the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines. As the pulse and voice of retail, we represent your interests on issues confronting the industry, such as bills on the further liberalization of the retail trade, music copyright issue, contractualization, use of thermal POS printers, price tag law, among others. As a member, you can take advantage of special rates and discounts for various educational programs and projects we regularly conduct to help you advance and develop your skills and competencies and help your business grow. There are seminars, conferences, and expos, high-level and exclusive meetings, which will give you infinite opportunities for the growth and development of your business. As part of our commitment to also help retailers in the regions have access to our educational programs, we conduct regional roadshows all over the country. The PRA also conducts a 2-day career expo, which seeks to generate continuous source of qualified candidates for various levels and positions in the retail business. It is strategically held in malls to help generate increased foot traffic and correspondingly help increase sales for the retailers. PRA members enjoy exclusive privileges through the PRA BizCard, a unique program which offers members exclusive discounts, special offers, and other offerings from associate members and other suppliers. At the same time, it also allows a business-to-business transaction between regular and associate members, which is mutually beneficial for both parties, where trust and loyalty can be established. And since we want to add more value to your membership, we are offering the PRA Premier Members Card, a rewards program to serve and incentivize all members who are actively participating in PRA events and programs. We encourage and recognize Filipino retailers who have epitomized the model of success in terms of growth and good ethical best practices through the Outstanding Filipino Retailers and Shopping Center of the Year Awards, or OFRC. To support members in their employee recognition programs, the PRA spearheaded the Retail Employees Day program for the Philippines, which is celebrated every December 12. With the support of all members of the PRA, we recognize and celebrate retail employees for their role in the retail business. You have exclusive access to information and publications for industry development available in the PRA library. Through your membership in the PRA, we can help grow your network and access to local international networks through our affiliations with large influential business organizations locally and globally, like the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Employers Confederation of the Philippines, the Federation of Asia-Pacific Retailers Association, the Federation of International Retail Associations, and the National Retail Federation, the world's largest retail organization. Such networks provide unlimited benefits of being connected to the local and global world of business and retail. So, who can be a member? All retailers in all formats, shopping centers, as well as suppliers of products and services to the retail industry are encouraged to join and be a part of the PRA community. How to become a PRA member? We have 3 types of membership to cater to your needs. There's a regular membership for those who are directly involved in the retail business. Associate membership for corporations or entities engaged in the business of supplying products or services to retailers. And chapter members who are any organized group of retailers doing business in the Philippines. Being a member of the PRA will give your company endless possibilities and opportunities to give your company what it needs to grow, expand, prosper, and become globally competitive. Because at PRA, our only business is helping your business grow.
Good day. Welcome back to Let's Talk Retail of the PRA. Um, we had our first podcast with Yang Tupas of Ayala Malls. Our second podcast was with Kevin Tan. So those were our local shakers and leaders of this industry. This time we go global. From London, we'll have a guest who will take us through her observations or insights regarding the global perspectives. Now, we hope you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just go to the PRA YouTube channel, click on the bell so that you can so you get your notifications. Now, before I bring in our guest for today's podcast, let's call in our PRA chairman, Mr. Paul Santos, to welcome all of you. Paul?
Hi, good afternoon. Good evening, CJ,
Good evening, Paul. Hi.
and hello to everyone who's either watching or listening to this podcast. It's uh, it's a pleasure to address all of you, and I hope that the talk to be delivered by our guest for today would enlighten and inform you on what to do during these highly unusual times. All of us have been looking for inspiration and a guide, and guides to be more precise. And all of us are spending quite a lot of time doing just that, finding ways to get us out of this, well, this mess, right? And it doesn't hurt that one, an expert is here to give us these tips for us to find our way through this thicket. And with that, I welcome you all to this podcast. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. Truly highly unusual time. So I'm excited for this podcast because not only of the global perspective, but it's another point of view. Okay, as we go through this disruptive time, and as Paul calls it, this highly unusual time. Now, Let's Talk Retail is PRA's new digital initiative. It's supposed to help inspire and motivate our fellow retailers and our friends in the industry. Um, and we make it a point to invite leaders, shakers, influencers of this industry. All right, let's bring in our guest. She's an Iraqi born with a mixed heritage, raised in England and American educated. She's dynamic, hands-on, transformational leader with over 25 years of experience with global fashion in the retail industry in the UK, Europe, US, and the Middle East. In fact, I saw that she used to work with Harrods. She's a business strategist, she's a retail consultant. She's been in the trenches. Now she has a strategic point of view. She was in Forbes Middle East top 50 international CEOs, heading local companies in the Gulf Cooperation Council. She was also in Forbes Middle East top 200 most powerful Arab women in the world, and one of the 30 most influential women in the Arab world and Arabian business. Okay, let's welcome on screen Miss Asil Attar.
Hi, how are you? Good evening.
Good
Lovely
evening.
to be here.
Welcome, Asil. Mabuhay from the Philippines.
Mabuhay. Nice
All
to
right.
see you all.
Um, you're joining us from London.
Yes,
And
yes.
how's the weather in
Kind of
London?
cold.
Okay. And
Cold.
and
Cold
I
and
know
rainy as usual.
and I know you're on
Sorry.
your second tier lockdown. You're on your second.
No, we haven't started the
Okay.
lockdown actually.
All
No,
right.
no, no. There's
Good,
no
good.
lockdown yet. They're trying to manage it in certain cities in England, yes, but not in London, thankfully. So
Okay. So life goes on in London. How is it? How's
yeah, life is going on like everywhere in the rest of the world. People are sort of adjusting to this new way of living, right? So they are finding their path. They, are finding how to navigate this storm. Like you said, it's a very unusual time. But I think everyone is slowly realizing that this is, going to become the norm, and therefore we have to make it a habit, become, used to this circumstance and continue with life.
Okay, we'll go back to those insights of yours, but
Yeah.
let's first step back a bit and talk about your, let's start talking about your background. When I was going over, researching about you and the information, you're a world citizen.
Yes, very much. Very proud to be a world citizen.
And how did that shape your, your personality, your outlook?
Yeah, I mean, of course, as a child, I was, moving to many different countries because of my father's work. He was a pioneer of solar energy in the 70s and, a remarkable man. So we spent many years, traveling from country to country. And like you mentioned, I was sort of born in Iraq, but then really raised in the UK and then between the US and all over. So of course it shaped me. It's made me, completely aware of cultural diversity, completely, in tune of everyone around me, with a heightened emotional intelligence, with a great sense of empathy to different cultures. So I'm very blessed to have had all those experiences because, of course, in today's world, there's nothing really, there's nothing permanent, right? We all belong to like you said, we're global citizens, so having that from a very young age was incredibly useful to me.
Okay, you are based in London, and why did you choose to be in London now?
London's my home. London's always been my home. This is where I was, brought up, so this is part of my life. Of course, I've worked, all over the world, but this is where I call home.
Okay,
Unfortunately, I can't go back to Iraq because of the
okay,
situation, so London is home.
all right.
Yes.
I've just to wind down on the personal stuff. If you were not what you are now, what would you have been?
I think I would definitely have pursued a career, in the creative industry. Obviously, I'm part creative, part commercial, but I would
Yes.
have definitely got into design, and the arts on a permanent. I actually graduated in interior design, so I started my career, in the creative industry and then led to fashion. But I wouldn't change, the actual industry because I love it. It's where innovation happens and creative thinking. So I wouldn't really do anything differently. I might focus more on, like I said, the arts, but creativity is where I completely comfortable. So
Okay. Now, one of the themes that resonate now is women empowerment. Okay, and I've seen that
hmm
you've broken the glass ceilings based on the credentials that we have seen in our research. What were the challenges of operating in the Middle East? Because a lot of the businesses you were doing were in the Middle East. And what is
yeah.
your advice to career women?
I mean, the challenges are not particularly just, in the Middle East. Of
Okay,
course, women get challenged on a global perspective, right? So I think, very few women are in leadership positions. Very few are in the C-suite or executive positions. And I think when I'm asked to do talks and, conferences about women empowerment, I'm always saying it's not, I'm not a feminist by any means. I respect the power of men and women. I think life is very balanced. So I actually have worked, in most cases, much better with men than I have with women. So for me, I'm an ambassador of women empowerment, which means I champion women to, be confident, have self-confidence, arm themselves with knowledge. But often women say, we'll never get a chance, or how do we ever succeed, or how are we ever going to break that ceiling? And my reply is, I've done it repetitively through my knowledge, my passion, my commitment to learning, my hard work. When I've landed the roles that I have, it's been because of merit and all the skills that I have. So I may have been interviewed with 15 other men for the role, but I got the role because of my knowledge, and my expertise. And so I'm always encouraging women to, work really hard, be ambitious. It's not easy, breaking the ceiling, breaking any mold isn't easy, you know, and everything that you do in life has to come with passion, commitment, and hard work. And trust me, with those ingredients, you will make that difference. You will achieve the management roles or the leadership roles. So I never look at it that, you know, because I'm a woman, I might not get this job, or because I'm a woman. As a matter of fact, it's never crossed my mind. And so when I empower, or when I'm talking about empowerment, it's encouraging men and women, you know, to follow their ambition and dream and work really hard. So, you know, it's for me, of course there's challenges, but you have to command your presence. Like I said, you know, there's nothing that challenges knowledge, right? No one can challenge knowledge.
Right.
And at the same time, you know, I'm very much I love being a woman. You know, I never act like I want to be manly. I was saying to someone the other day, you know, I don't ever wear a suit, or I don't feel I need to have, you know, this specific look. I'm proud to be a woman. I expect men to open doors for me. I expect men to get up when I enter a room. You know, I expect to be treated like a lady. At the same time, I have an equal voice, you know, and so that's how I approach empowerment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question on gender matters. What can men learn from women?
I think the greatest skill that they can learn is empathy. I think, you know, today we're looking at a world that is, you know, I've always led through my human leadership. When people ask me, what leadership style do you have? My response is human and then transformational, because, you know, we are human beings. You're dealing with people every single day. And when you're running businesses and when you're, you know, trying to make a difference, it's not just about costs. It's not just about, you know, P&Ls, especially in my world. You know, it's not about that. It's about the human capital that enables you to be successful. So I would, you know, encourage men that are in leadership positions, especially today as we're facing a very difficult time, to have empathy, because that's where men do not have. They don't lead through empathy. They don't lead through their emotional intelligence. You know, and that's just the nature of how they were designed, right? But we do, we are always thinking we were at the center of a business. Men tend to be in a hierarchical position where they're leaders. When women are leaders in a business, we place ourselves in the center and then multitask and engage everyone around us. And we're very aware, you know, we have this heightened sense of awareness, and we engage with people very differently. And I think today more than ever, we need to see men and women be exercising that, you know, that emotional intelligence, because everybody needs it. We need that right now.
Okay. You mentioned about leadership style. Okay. So you are more collegial in approach? Are you more um, are you more motherly, or are you more dictatorial? How would you describe your leadership style in one
You
word?
know, I'm, for me, my description, like I said, is transformational, and I do that through
Okay.
engaging my, you know, my teams. And so I'm very open, I'm very transparent. You know, I'm very available as a leader to my teams. I am not a leader that sits in their office, closes the door, and you know, leads only through their directors or their small leadership team. I'm
Okay.
on the shop floor. That's where I started my career. So I'm on the floor, I'm with my teams, I'm leading by example, I'm participating, I'm mentoring, I'm coaching, I'm enabling. You know, I'm there. Every business that I've ever been, everybody, and I mean everyone, down to the T-boy, down to, you know, everyone who's involved in the business, have access to me, my phone number, you know, my contact. I am there for them because I know that, you know, it's definitely not me running a business. It's through them that we are able to make change, right? So this is the kind of leader that I am: accessible, available, and very emotionally engaged.
But doesn't that style spread yourself too thin?
Of course, it's exhausting when you're giving so much from an emotional level. It is absolutely exhausting. I mean, I work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have done for 30 years, and I give a lot of me. So, of course, at the end of the day, I'm absolutely exhausted, but there's nothing more rewarding than knowing when you're in a position that you can affect change. You know, and that's the most important thing for me, and that's what inspires me to take on these roles, because I know when I'm leading an organization of 1,000, 2,000, however many people,
Right.
500, that every single thing I do will affect and impact their lives. And let me tell you something, there's nothing more exciting than, you know, making a difference. People come to you and say, because of this, I was able to do that, you know, take care of my family, buy a new piece of land, you know, pay off my debt. You know, because of you, I love my job. Every day I come to work, I'm inspired. Because of you, I've learned a new skill. You know, because of your style, I'm now a manager. You know, I've coached people, which I'm so proud to be my, you know, directors now and senior executives, you know. So this is something that is food for the soul, right?
Yes, that's true. That's your
Yeah.
psychic income. That's your psychic
Yes,
income.
exactly. Absolutely. Well said. Yeah. And that's very valuable.
Okay, we're in the middle of a pandemic, 7 months into it. Okay, what was
Mm.
the impact of the pandemic on you personally first, on your personal life? What was the impact of the pandemic?
Look, I think, you know, one of the greatest impacts for me and for everyone, I think it was the mental health, right? You know, it was very, very difficult to be in a position where you're sort of unable to really do what your typical norm was, right? So having those restrictions were very, very difficult, especially when it's an individual like me who, you know, has been accused of having 7 heads and thinks rapidly. And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm a very unusual sort of mix of human being. You know, I'm part creative and, like I said, part commercial. So I think rapidly and you know, an introvert, extrovert. So there's a lot of thinking that goes on underneath this turban, right? And so
Okay.
when you're trying to manage, yeah, when you're trying to manage all of those questions, thoughts, speed, and you're trying to sort of manage it mentally, is very, very tough. It's not easy. So I think that was the biggest challenge for me. And of course, you know, mental health is an incredibly, you know, important subject, right? And so many people have gone through a very difficult time, including myself. So, you know, keeping myself sort of busy, keeping myself in some sort of routine, giving myself some sort of sanity, you know, innovatively and creatively thinking of ways to ensure that, you know, whether it's my business or my family life or engaging, you know, everything as much as possible around me to give you some sort of you know, sanity and routine, right? Because it can't just stop and ground to a halt, especially with so many restrictions. That was very difficult.
Okay. Now we
Yeah.
pull back and look at bird's eye view on the impact of the pandemic on the business. You've always been in retail. You started out in the trenches, right? You were in Harrods, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah. I was on the shop floor in Harrods. Yeah.
So
Yes.
now that you've been in a lot of retail companies and now advising retail, what have you seen as the impact of the pandemic on retail? Can you share
Well,
with
of
us?
course, you know, yeah, I mean, of course, it's hugely affected every business globally, not just retail, right? And you can see every single day, you know, businesses going out of business, businesses frantically trying to navigate this, you know, this situation. But for me, I think it was a fantastic opportunity because it's nature's way of sort of realigning
Okay.
and, you know, cleansing and sort of really making a situation that would help us for the next 10 to 20 years, which means reshaping, because I think retail was going absolutely crazy for the last 10 years. There
Okay.
was this, you know, greed, there was this desire for, you know, margin-led, profit-led, at any cost, you know, production, inventory, massification of, you know, the industry, mass fashion, you know, more is more mentality, which was spiraling out of control. And obviously that was more further fueled by, you know, social media and this desire to want to look and purchase regardless of your disposable income, the pressures of just, you know, throwaway fashion. So for me, it was phenomenal because it's, you know, separated the men from the boys. It has by force stopped this mass consumption. and has, you know, forced these big corporate and conglomerates to take a step back. You know, this consumption was destroying the environment, you know, absolutely causing havoc, you know, in terms of, you know, globally. So for me, this slowdown is fantastic, because retail has been tough for the last 10 years. Retail has not been in a good place. It's not because of the pandemic that these, you know, companies have now gone bust, or these companies are closing down. Majority of these companies were already, you know, in a situation financially which was unstable, and this was just the catalyst for them. You know, a lot of these companies have been for years sort of struggling to maintain the bottom line. And therefore, this is not something that's because of the pandemic. This is something that was long going to happen. And this, like I said, sort of forced that change. So I think, you know, whilst there's been a lot of difficulties from that perspective, it's also created a tremendous amount of opportunity for the smaller groups and the smaller brands to come up, and the younger brands. And, you know, so I see a very positive outlook actually for this, because we don't need to be consumers in the way that we have been. We don't need thousands and thousands of SKUs filling a shop floor. We don't need all of this unnecessary product that frankly we can completely live without. So this will force companies to rethink their business models, their strategies, you know, look at the quality. I think also what it's done is the consumer has been very much in the lead of this situation, because the table has turned. And before, the brands, you know, and the corporates were pushing out their marketing messages, push, push, push. But now, you know, because people are just not with the financial disposable income, people are rethinking, reflecting, they're looking at their priorities, you know, therefore they are asking questions, you know, how are products made? By who are they made? Also, they're seeing the integrity of the brands that they used to follow. You know, have they communicated to me in the last 6 months, or did they forget about me? So it's a really interesting, you know, psyche that we're seeing. I think it's very positive.
So what are the opportunities now? Given the storm will pass, it's evolutionary. What do you see as the opportunities, as you know, as a retail, as an
Yeah, I
industry
think the
insider?
opportunities, yeah, I mean, the opportunities, like I said, are for these small businesses, you know, these local businesses. People are looking inwards. You know, they're going to be supporting their local manufacturing, their local designs, their local brands. You know, a very heightened sense of community has happened because of this, has brought many people together. So therefore, I think, you know, people are going to be looking inwards. I think this is the opportunity for the small mom and pop stores to sort of revive themselves, for young designers, for innovation, for creative thinking. You know, people are fed up of just mass, you know, non-experiential retailing. Now is the chance for, you know, these newer or fresher mindset to create retail that matters, basically experiences that matter, whether it's in food and beverage, whether it's in fashion, whatever it is. Now it has to be about the experience, the engagement, the communication, you know, local, not just global. So it's a really great time for that.
I'm glad you gave that context and those insights, because that would be very helpful in creating um, a thought process for our retailers here in the Philippines.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
do you see brick and mortar still being relevant?
Of course. Oh my goodness. You're talking to someone who is a brick and mortar's, you know,
Exactly.
gal, right? I mean, this is how I
Yes.
was raised. And, you know, let me tell you, nothing will take over that human
All right.
engagement.
Okay. Even
Nothing. And,
online?
you know,
Even online?
sorry.
Even online?
Online, well, how can online take over the human
Okay.
engagement and the experience? Online is just a tool. It's a tool to enable a quicker purchase,
Okay.
possibly. But, you know, online is always only represented 10, 15, 20% at best of a business. So the concept of, you know, thinking that 80% of your business is going to, through bricks and mortar, be transferred like magically to online is never going to happen. So there's always a perfect balance, and you have to have the perfect blend of both. It's not going to go away. And actually, more than ever now, when people are restricted in the way that they're able to go out, the minute they are out, they want to be present.
If you were going to advise traditional brick and mortar players, what are the three things they have to do post-pandemic?
Well, I think they have to completely go back and, reconsider how valuable their customer is. And I would encourage them to be revamping, their communication and really, really having and rebuilding that relationship, because I think there's a lot of complacencies that have happened, in bricks and mortar or the retail environment, where there's not been that connect with your customer, that true connect like I remember it to be. I think also they should be looking at this time to really invest in the training and the investment in their teams, bringing them together and really empowering them with the right tools of how to engage with your customer. I'm not talking about customer service and selling. I'm talking
Okay.
about real engagement, you know? Really how to rebuild that connection and community, and to go out of the box and think of very interesting ways how they can, through technology, through things like this, how can they engage with their customer, how can they showcase the products, how do they build that relationship to bring that customer back. I think, like I said, so it's about then creating that experience and that honest communication. I think that's the one thing that everybody's in it, this together. We're all experiencing the same thing. So there's no shame for companies or businesses to come up and say, look, we've been having a really difficult time and we really need your support. You've been with us in the past and help us lead the future. Be with us. We thank you, acknowledging everyone around you, because everyone needs that support system. And that's the other thing. The third thing is creating the right support system, the right motivation, the right incentives for yourself, your stakeholders, your customers, because you're all in it together. And without that thinking, it's not going to work, frankly.
All right. I've been listening to your Spotify podcast, and you've been talking to an eclectic group of guests. Now, if you were going
Yeah.
to summarize in 3 to 5 words what you've learned from the multitude of guests, what would they be? What would those five
Yeah, I
lessons be?
think I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is people's, determination, right? People's will to want to be better, to seek to be in a better place, to have optimism. This is something that's come across over and over again, that despite all these setbacks, there is that desire to make a difference, whether it's through social impact or social responsible initiatives, or, looking at everything around us, from sustainability to diversity to respect for humanity. It leaves me with a great deal of hope that everyone that I've, interviewed is always very optimistic, very open, very much about communicating, very much about, everybody I speak to talks about one of my passions, which is mentorship, coaching. Now is the time where people need mentors, no matter where you are in your career, whether you're starting out, whether you're a senior executive, finding like-minded people. That's the things that I'm getting from people, this very positive, optimistic, can-do attitude, that despite this will become the norm. This will become who we are, and we'll just, have to get on and learn to live with it. And, like my husband was saying the other day, anything that goes after 6 months becomes a habit. So we need to stop thinking about waiting for this, amazing day to come where everything is like it was last year. It's not going to come. So you have to just be absolutely understanding of the mindset is this is it. This is it. So you've got to make it happen. You've got to continue, and you've got to find your way. You've got to think innovatively, because I think the first 6 months people were hoping that time will pass and things are going to go back to normal, everything will
Right.
be okay.
Right.
Well, actually, they've now suddenly realized, you know, this is it. So what are you going to do? Are you going to curl up, or are you going to get up there and just make it happen like you always have? And I think that's the most important thing that I get out of every single, you know, interview that I do, is that can-do attitude, support, you know, we can make this happen. And yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Very good reality checks there. That's very relevant as we try to get through 2020, what a year it has been, right? What is your advice to entrepreneurs now in this disruptive time? What would be your
This is their time, you know, this is their moment. This is their moment to shine. This is their moment to come up with the new. This is the best time. It's always through challenge that we see innovation. It's always through difficult times that we see the most creative thinkers come up with the greatest ideas. So for entrepreneurs, this is their moment to be, you know, absolutely creating, you know, the future. This is how they're going to shape the future. So I say, take the bull by the horns and, you know, start to follow your passion and make that change.
Okay, last question before we say goodbye. What is your wish for
Yeah.
2021?
My goodness, my wish for 2021 is
Yes.
that, you know, everyone is safe and well, and, you know, health and peace. And my wish is that everyone finds their way, you know, that everyone can find their way through this and adjust and, you know, start to live their lives like they should. So that's what I wish for everyone.
All right. Asil, thank you very much for making time for us. I know you've been
Thank you
busy,
so much. It's great to be here. Great to be here.
and that was an inspiring and reality-based conversation. And I'm sure our
Thank you.
listeners,
Thank you.
okay, so I'm sure our listeners will find um, insightful and relevant as we navigate the turbulent time ahead. Again, Asil, in behalf of the Philippine Retailers Association, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Stay safe, stay well. Thank you to everybody.
Okay, everyone,
All
thank
the
you very
best.
much. Thank you very much for joining us for our
Bye.
third Let's Talk Retail podcast. And we hope to see you again in our fourth podcast, which we are now planning. This is CJ Asena, wishing you a good day. Goodbye.